Após passar um mês escavando em busca de ossos, dentes e outros fascinantes vestígios de dinossauros no noroeste estadunidense, finalmente chegou o momento para que estes, cuidadosamente preparados para seu transporte, empreendam o caminho ao seu novo lar. Mas o processo de preparação para deixá-los nas condições propícias para serem estudados ou expostos em museus está apenas começando. O que irá acontecer com estas preciosas peças do passado quando abandonarem o lugar que as guardou por tanto tempo? Vários quilômetros percorridos e, finalmente, a alegria de chegar ao destino. A Universidade Adventista do Sudoeste, no Texas, Estados Unidos. O grupo de estudantes e professores agora se concentram em descarregar com cuidado a preciosa carga. Devem conferir que toda a preparação prévia tenha cumprido sua importante missão de proteger estas frágeis relíquias dos perigos do caminho.
Once the bones have been discovered and they have been uncovered and they have been GPSed and photographed, then we very carefully remove them from the ground. And if they're small bones, we can preserve them, protect them in aluminum foil or some kind of protective material. Then they are boxed up with bubble wrap and sent back to our laboratory in Keene. If they're bigger bones, kind of intermediate sized bones, we will wrap them in foil and then we will foam them to a board with insulating foam so that they're stuck on the board and they're protected by the foam. And then we wrap those in bubble wrap and ship them back also. And the bigger bones, the ones that are too big to do either one of those procedures, we actually have to make a plaster cast of the bone. So we wrap the bone just like if you had a broken leg or arm. We wrap the bone with plaster and burlap or some other cloth. And then we bring those back into the camp and we take them home, wrap them in bubble wrap also, and take them back to Keene. Once they get in Keene, in Texas, once we've taken them back to Texas, we then process the bones in our new laboratory and museum. And we have special equipment there that allows us to work on the bones and removes the dust and debris so that we can clean them very carefully and bring them into the museum.
Tenemos como 2,000 huesos que tenemos cada año, creo. Y entonces, por estar hecho ahí eso como 10 años, tenemos como 20,000 huesos, creo, en el museo. Y como cada año, creo que hago como 1,000 huesos, tal vez. Mi trabajo es tomarle fotos a los huesos aquí que llegan al museo y después que le tomo fotos le pongo como en la computadora para que sean así para moverse, no sé cómo se dice. Y después de eso los muevo al museo en su lugar y empiezo todo de nuevo. Entonces cuando los correcto en la computadora tengo que ir a Photoshop y con eso ya arreglo todas las fotos para que salen bonitas. Pues cuando tienes la foto voy a tener que hacer una de estas acciones. Y después la metemos a otro programa que se llama Remake y con eso se hace un objeto que se puede mover y con eso podemos ponerlo, manipularlos y hacer como imágenes de eso, o también ahora podemos construir huesos de nuevo como de apegamento o algo así con nuestra máquina de 3D.
Ainda que por um momento tenha parecido que a tecnologia tomou seu tempo para ingressar no mundo da paleontologia, o poder do que ambas podem realizar juntas é sem dúvida inquestionável. Suas aplicações são numerosas, desde reconstruir cenários, duplicar peças e geolocalizá-las, até tornar possível que toda essa informação esteja disponível para aquele que quiser observar por si mesmo os restos dos dinossauros escavados nesta, que após mais de 20 anos recolhendo dados, é a maior escavação virtual do mundo.
Todos pueden accesar todas las fotos de que tomamos aquí en el internet, además vas a fossil.swau.edu y de eso puedes encontrar todo por presionando el de Browse Collection. Pues vas a ir como fossil.swau.edu, vas al de Browse Collection y pones un número, como este va a ser 13985. Y va a aparecer el hueso. Y desde allí puedes tener toda la información, como en dónde está en el museo, cuándo lo encontramos, cuándo lo arreglamos, dónde se encontró, qué tipo de dinosaurio es, qué tipo de hueso, y en qué condición está, quién lo encontró, quién lo preparó. Y luego vas aquí y tienes las fotos. Entonces, con esta foto ya ves cómo se encontró allá en el piso, ¿verdad? Puedes ver dónde la encontramos en una mapa comparado con todos los otros huesos de ahí. Y puedes ver las fotos entre 300 y 60 grados así. Y se mueven. Y también como si quieres ver los que tienen fotos de 3D o algo así, que son imágenes de objetos. O si quieres buscar como diente o algo, le pones tooth y te enseña todos los que tenemos aquí. Entonces, si quieres como parte de la pierna, un fémur. Aquí tienes todos los huesos.
Each year we go to Wyoming to dig for about a month. And during that month, we excavate between 1,000 and 2,000 bones. Those bones are enough to keep us busy the whole year trying to get them cleaned and prepared and numbered and then curated into the collection and photographed. So we don't want to go for a longer period of time. We only want to spend a month there each year because if we stayed longer, we'd have more bones. And one of my pledges when I began this project was that I wouldn't dig bones out of the ground and then let them sit around somewhere, that they had to be cleaned and prepared and curated so that they wouldn't just waste away. Because my whole goal in starting this project was to preserve as much information as I could about these amazing animals. So we've been very firm about that and just spend a single month out there in order not to get behind in processing the bones.
Tratar a informação coletada de forma detalhada e cuidadosa é indispensável para o desenvolvimento de uma ciência séria e responsável. Somente ao processar os ossos com precisão, catalogando-os corretamente e assegurando sua preservação adequada, será possível que este material continue disponível para pesquisa sobre os dinossauros em futuras gerações. Gerações que primeiramente deverão ser introduzidas às ciências e à paleontologia através da educação. Museus e projetos como este, que têm o objetivo de reconstruir pequenos fragmentos desta história, para despertar no público a curiosidade de saber mais sobre estes seres que, muitas vezes, pareceram querer permanecer ocultos no passado.
This is for the dinosaur called a Thesaurus. It's a small vegetarian that is from the hips, floor to the hips, is only about 3 foot tall. Tip of his nose, the tip of his tail, 10 to 12 foot long. So it's one of the smaller dinosaurs that we have. And it's a very important dinosaur for us in that it is probably the most, in fact, it is the most complete dinosaur that we actually have. That all the pieces that you see here all belong, all the original vertebrae all belong to this one dinosaur. We have a lot of vertebrae, and we know what type of dinosaur, but we don't know which one. This one, they all belong to the same dinosaur. So it's very, very important. A lot of the dinosaurs that they mount, they find one vertebrae maybe, and so they just make a whole bunch of those. Or they take a vertebrae from a different dinosaur, and most of us wouldn't know the difference. And so here we know for fact, because they were in the ground, just as you see them here, that it came from that one specific dinosaur. So it's a very, very important one for us. The work that I am doing is easy to learn. It takes a little bit of experience, but the process, is not that difficult. Your difficult part is trying to identify which animal the vertebrae or whatever piece of bone you have, which animal it came from, and if you don't have the complete bone, what does the rest of it look like? And so that requires a lot of study to compare pictures, and we spend a lot of time in books and internet and talking with other paleontologists to get advice about what we're doing and what something should look like. So the book that I'm going by here is actually the field guide that Keith Snyder had written. And so we made a copy of it because he is the one who has dug this Thesaurus out of the ground. And so he's got detailed pictures. Oh, this is the one I wanted. And here is the sacrum as he pulled it out, and then the vertebrae that went behind it. And they were all together in the ground. And that would be this picture here, which you probably can't see in detail, but there's the sacrum and the vertebrae behind it in the ground. So we know these all go to the same animal. And then other pieces of him too. Now, what we have done, because we do not have, or we do not think right now, that we have all the vertebrae. And so what we have done is taken a vertebrae and we do it in 3D. So we take 32 pictures in one revolution, and then they can then put that onto the computer, into the 3D printer, and it comes out with almost a perfect image of what this was. If we don't have all of these neck vertebrae, we can make another one either smaller or larger using the computer. And once it's painted up and put into where it belongs up in the front of the head, then you wouldn't know that there's a difference in them. Hopefully, that's my goal, is to have them look exactly as much as we can. And that's a 3D. Now that is one of the ways we make copies of it. That's what we've started doing now. Another way is, and this is a different two other ways. So this is a copy. Now this is also a copy of a bone. This is made, took the original bone and we made a mold of it. We'll see how that's done here in a little while. We made an actual mold, and then we poured that mold with some special polymers that comes up with, and it's a white color as well, but this one I have painted to make it look very much like the original bone. All right, we are going to now attempt to paint. This is a copy of a T-Rex tooth that we have, the original of, and I made a cast of it. And I'm trying to, it originally was white, and I've put an undercoating of paint on it, and now I'm gonna try and get it a little closer to what the actual color would be by using, and I'm using acrylic paint today. And so we're gonna do that. So normally, you know, this tooth would be about like the same color, just as this one was the same color, and I've already worked on it a little bit, and I will work on it some more. And it takes, I have found that if I do it in layers, I get a better copy on the material than if I just kind of slap a lot of them on. We're experimenting, trying to decide now. These are two pieces, real pieces of dinosaur bone. So sometimes I will try to get them to look this color, sometimes the other color, and sometimes maybe almost a complete black. Because some of our bones just totally vary in colorations of it. So try to get it to look like what it's somewhat supposed to be is not always easy. This particular claw, this is a 3D printed claw, and you can see the lines of where it was printed, but it looks kind of neat here. This we have put on stain, brushed on stain, took a rag and wiped it on. So we're experimenting with that to see how that works. We're doing a lot of experimenting. Now with this particular one, now this is from our Thesaurus. I built up some of the pieces here, but it's very easy to tell they don't match. It looks ugly. So if we take some of this same paint, now first what I want to do is use some of this fixer on it, and I'll try not to get it on you or your cameras, that we can let that dry for a few minutes, and then we'll be able to paint over that and be able to blend it in. Now notice we've got the different colors in here. So it's not a solid. In a lot of museums, when you go to see the dinosaurs, they're all solid because it's so much easier to paint just a solid color, and then they go back and make some details. So they may not have the budget or the time or the desire, whereas I do. So then when that dries, and it doesn't take too long for it to dry, then I can take the paint and start adding it to, and it will adhere better to the material, the Bondo material, the Paleo Bond. And then by putting several coats of different colors on it, mixing a little bit of black with it, a little bit of beige with it, we can get a closer coloration to what the actual bone looked like. But it's a process of several coats of different colors of paint to make it real thin coats. And that will give us a good rendition of it when we get to the actual darker browns. So in order to build these things, you find another one and then build it to look like that one. Now, not all the bones look exactly the same, even the vertebrae, not all of them look exactly the same. So you got to compare the different types of vertebrae with the different vertebrae and make it to look like that. Some of them have a little curve down. Now, if I put it on this one that had the curve down, it would be wrong and it would be easy to detect. So it just takes a little time of research to study, to think about it. We're not going to use our own thoughts and make up something that did not belong there to begin with. We want to have it as close as we can to the real. Why spend the time? You know, I've wondered that question myself. But, you know, like this one, the real bone, we can't send to maybe a school library or to a group of people that want to talk about dinosaurs. And here you actually have something that they can show that will look the same, but it's not the real bone. So if it gets broken, Okay, we'll make another copy of it. If the real one gets broken, then we have a lot more trouble with that. So we want to be able to have a lot of these available, because we have schools that come through here all the time. Now, wouldn't that be nice to have one that the teacher could take back with her to her school and say, hey, this is what they really look like?
O poder dos dinossauros para atrair a atenção de pequenas e grandes mentes curiosas para a ciência e o conhecimento é algo que não deve ser subestimado. Mas ainda mais fascinante é reconhecer que estes descobrimentos também poderiam impactar a forma na qual interpretamos hoje nossas origens.
While we are interested in the science and in preserving the bones, we also are interested in the impact this will have on people's lives. This is probably the only scientific enterprise in the United States where people can come here and work on dinosaurs and do scientific research without having to be deeply involved in the philosophy of naturalism and evolution and long ages, because we promote a view of this whole project that allows the opportunity to explore new ideas. And these new ideas are in the area of creation in not millions of years, but something that's happened relatively recently. We find a lot of supportive data for this, both in the disposition of the bones themselves, how they are in the ground, and also in the work that we do afterwards, looking for biomolecules and other markers that shouldn't be in these bones if they're millions of years old. So we are pursuing the goal of trying to learn what the bones can tell us.
This is basic science research. So we're trying to find out something about how these animals died and what happened to them after they died. So you involve students in that, and they learn, they gain something from that type of research, of actually getting in and solving problems and pulling out information that hadn't been known before. It can be very exciting for many students.
There are all kinds of interesting questions that could be answered by the next generation that comes along, if they do it in a scientifically accurate and biblically consistent way.
Descobrir, pesquisar, pensar, exercer a característica que nos faz humanos, a de raciocinar, nos aproximar das evidências com atenção, mas acima de tudo, com a liberdade de ler suas histórias fielmente, sem temor dos resultados. Liberdade que reside também na oportunidade de acessar a todo o conhecimento que possa informar nossas perspectivas e, de forma definitiva, contribuir na forma em que nos aproximamos da ciência e a interpretamos.
I think it's really important that a place is provided for Christian scientists, because what's happening in the United States and the world and the government of the United States is, in all the colleges, what's taught is evolution. And if dinosaur fossils are found, and they're found on public land like BLM land and federal land, well, they're not going to let a Christian scientist have a permit to come in to excavate. They're just not going to do it. And so it's really important that places are provided, and since this is private land, that's why the provision is here. God has left us here with the purpose of trying to accomplish this, and that's why we think it's important, so that the world can get a different view and a different perspective other than what's being taught in the universities and the colleges about evolution.
Through the years, it has become more and more evident to me that there was a reason that God put my grandfather here and homesteaded here, and my dad here, who had the conviction, that that God put these bones here. Because now the reason is becoming evident, because it's a big part of explaining creationism with a scientific base, and it is truly true science, and it's sterling in character as well as the people operating it.
God gave us, through a series of relationships, these scientists who are six-day creationists, who use our bones to get people to questioning all of the things they've been taught. And we don't say, okay, these bones were put here during the flood. We just give them the evidence that they're finding, that they're digging out of the hills with the bones, and let them draw their own conclusions. And the scientists do teach the evolutionary scale, or whatever it's called here, and as a theory, which it is. And they also teach creation as a theory, which it is. You can't prove God, He's just there. But you can come alongside of whatever God is doing and facilitate it as best you can.
One of the key reasons to have a place like Hanson Ranch is that we want all of our work to be scientifically accurate, but we want it all to be biblically consistent. We believe that there is truth, contrary to the millennial generation. There is a real truth, and we can know that truth. There's revealed truth and there's observational truth. And since there is a real truth, if we had all of the knowledge, we should be able to mesh those together. And we should be able to have scientifically accurate and biblically consistent interpretations to what we're working on. And so that was the underlying methodology that we've used out there at the Hanson Ranch.